This is one of the most iconic music entrances in all of anime. The light yet bold voice of the singer Toka manages to take your breath away within the first 5 seconds, and the following blend of traditional composition with modern orchestral elements sweeps you right off your feet and into the music. Suzume, directed by the legendary Makoto Shinkai and released in 2022, was a critically acclaimed success, known for its breathtaking visuals and emotional story. However, today I want to dive a bit further beneath the surface and focus on what I find most impressive about the film, which is its music. All of the music in Suzume was composed by the rock band RADWIMPS, who also worked on the music for Your Name and Weathering With You, as well as video game composer Kazuma Jinnouchi, who worked on the music for the Halo series and Ultraman. Both parties excel at creating ambient and atmospheric music, but their composition styles differ distinctly. When looking at Yoji Noda and the rest of RADWIMPS' compositions, you can feel a more playful and experimental style, highlighted with synths, unique percussion combinations, and piano runs. Take Sky Over Tokyo for example. The song starts off with an attention-grabbing and experimental synth entrance. As the song progresses, Noda begins to layer more and more elements, eventually adding more percussion. He then fades out and rebuilds, layering it with previous elements. One thing I really love about RADWIMPS' music is their use of drops. By doing this, they create tension, speaking with spaces and rests instead of notes. Furthermore, they make use of the room to build and layer their music back up again, often doing this process multiple times within one song. In this way, they could rapidly switch between moods and themes within their songs. This is once again shown in Sky Over Tokyo, where they use this space to resolve the climax of the song and call back to the beginning. Another pattern that I've seen with RADWIMPS' compositions are their references to earlier parts of their songs. Although not unique to only them, I do find this pattern rather charming, as their music resembles stories where the resolution returns to the beginning. Interestingly enough, the films that have their music all follow the same pattern, where the characters, after going through different events, return to their starting points in some way or another. The patterns that I mentioned before can also be seen in the title track. We start off with an attention-grabbing vocal entrance. Followed up with percussion and more vocals forming layers. And then proceeding to a drop, which serves as a medium and transition into the melody, where they proceed to add more and more layers into the climax, and then add another drop to change the mood, switching to a more light and emotional passage. As mentioned before, RADWIMPS uses a lot of synths and experimental percussion, which really shines through in this passage, culminating towards the end of the song. Overall, Noda's compositions manage to blend traditional Japanese elements with modern synths and experimental percussion, creating an adventurous mood that is present in every song, regardless of the tone. In contrast, Jinnouchi's work is much more dense and dramatic. This makes sense when you look at his background, which is rooted in music development for video games such as Halo and Metal Gear. He also received his music education in the United States, attending Berklee College of Music, which could have impacted his composition style. Let's take a look at some of his work in Suzume, starting with Abandoned School. We get a dark opening with brass and woodwind setting the mood. Jinnouchi then builds up using strings as so. One thing that separates Jinnouchi's compositions from Noda's is his use of classical orchestral elements such as strings and brass to create space and movement. Although he intersperses brass hits throughout the entirety of the song, this one portion really highlights his use of both brass and strings to create a nice and textbook build-up. As the song progresses, you can see again how he masterfully weaves both strings and brass to create two intertwined lines. Although I mentioned the differences between Noda and Jinnouchi's compositions, Jinnouchi doesn't shy away from using vocals to further enhance his music, as seen here when he uses vocals to emphasize the string line. Perhaps the best example of Jinnouchi's work in Suzume is the song Prayer, which was used for the film's climax and features almost exclusively classical orchestral elements, including violin and piano soloists. His expertise really shines through in the climax of the song, as the composition displays the grandeur and weight of the characters through the combined use of heavy percussion, brass, and strings. At a first glance, pairing these two composers together seems like it might not be the best idea, as they have contrasting identities. However, their music styles mix perfectly for this movie, with Jinnouchi's heavier style adding dramatic flair to Noda's playful and emotional themes. Suzume's departure, which both groups worked on, shows this blend perfectly. The song lies low for a bit and then begins its orchestral build-up. This part very much resembles Jinnouchi's work, bringing in those classical ensemble elements. Finally, as the song stretches towards its peak, we get a callback into Suzume's beginning, mixed in with the orchestra. This motif serves its purpose in the piece very well, as it represents Suzume's journey and how she eventually returns back to her origins, only now with life-changing experiences. Furthermore, Noda and Jinnouchi elaborate on this theme by referencing the main melody from the theme piece. However, instead of using audio cuts to alter the timing or the pitch of the vocals, the track instead features an original alteration. While I might just be reading too deep into it, I believe that this foreshadows how Suzume will be changed fundamentally instead of just at this surface level. One interesting point that I found while researching for this video was that this was the first film where Shinkai, the director of Your Name and Weathering With You, brought in Jinnouchi. Shinkai had already hired RADWIMPS for his previous films, which begs the question, what was it about this film that required Jinnouchi's influence? Suzume is considered the last film in Shinkai's disaster trilogy. While Your Name and Weathering With You focused more on teen romance with high stakes, Suzume differs by focusing more on the adventure, grief, and exploration. This makes sense when you look at the inspiration for the film. Suzume was based off the magnitude 9 Tohoku earthquake and the subsequent tsunami, which was the most powerful recorded earthquake in Japan. Furthermore, the tsunami also caused the Fukushima nuclear disaster, which exploded, prompting evacuation and containment of the area. Although Shinkai's other works also focused on the concept of nature, the tone of the film compared to the others was much more heavy. Although Your Name was inspired by the same earthquake as Suzume, the film centered around the impending comet impact as well as the body-swapping mechanic. Weathering With You considered the large-scale implications of climate change, but was more focused on bringing awareness to the issue. Therefore, I believe that Suzume focused on the deeper implications of the Tohoku earthquake, focusing on the concepts of grief, personal loss, and wide-scale destruction. In order to better express these themes, Shinkai brought on Jinnouchi and his expertise with larger orchestral arrangements in an attempt to add heaviness to the music within the film. Even though the two composers have a lot of differences, their composition styles have some elements that are very similar. Earlier, I mentioned that RADWIMPS likes to use multiple drops within their music, giving them flexibility to shift moods and build up again. Jinnouchi, with his background in video game music, also uses this technique. He clearly understands the importance of changes in intensity, and while he doesn't use sudden drops like RADWIMPS does, he instead uses the volume of his pieces to achieve the same effect. Going back to Abandoned School, we can see his use of drops and how it allows him to change intensities. He uses the same effect in Dreaming on Ferris Wheel. Here, the mood change after the drop becomes more obvious as he switches from the higher registers to a lower one. The use of this technique by both composers allows for the tracks in the movie to remain consistent, and it's hard to even notice differences between the two styles. Furthermore, the composers maintain the use of maximalist layering, which can pretty much be summed up by the phrase, more is more. This adds a lot of density throughout the entire film, with the soundtracks maintaining a more full sound. All of this combined makes the movie soundtrack feel much more human and much more enjoyable. Suzume also focuses a lot on abandoned locations. As stated before, Shinkai took inspiration from the Tohoku earthquake. In the aftermath of the tragedy, numerous areas were abandoned due to the scale of the destruction. In addition, areas affected by the nuclear disaster had to be cleared out as well. Throughout the film, Suzume visits many of these abandoned locations in an effort to shut the doors, including a school and a hot spring. Noda and Jinnouchi incorporate this message into their songs. It might sound a bit weird, but all of their compositions have a weird ghost-like feeling to them, accomplished through the careful use of reverb and volume control. This is pretty clearly seen in The First Encounter, which was composed by RADWIMPS, that used string reverb to create a sense of emptiness. In Abandoned Resort, Jinnouchi displays this theme of emptiness as well. He uses a tense string line in the background combined with woodwinds in order to create an uneasy, tense, and ghost-like feeling. Another thing worth looking at is how the composers describe the worm, which serves as an antagonist for the movie, which emerges from the doors. First off, these things are ginormous and they represent the overwhelming force of nature. Jinnouchi, with his history in developing music for Halo, which features these alien things, is perfect for developing music that represents the uncanny nature of these things. Although I can't quite pin down exactly how he does this, I'm fairly certain that his recording environment has something to do with it. Jinnouchi records with his orchestra in Abbey Road Studios, home of other legendary artists such as the Beatles, Radiohead, and all of these guys. The orchestral hall is ginormous, giving him the classical orchestral sound and fullness while allowing him to give his music a more eerie edge due to the size. Last year, Shinkai announced that his new film, described as taking place in a quote-unquote new world. It is highly speculated that he will once again be partnering with RADWIMPS, continuing their long-standing collaboration. However, it is unclear whether Jinnouchi will be coming back for this film. I enjoyed creating this video a lot and hope to lean more into films in the future. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments if you have any feedback or films that you would like for me to look at. Thank you.